A poor boy drops out of school in the 8th grade during the Great Depression to help his struggling family. At that moment, not a single person could have predicted he'd create a multi-billion-dollar franchise selling donuts with around 13,000 locations all over the world. This is the insane story of Dunkin Donuts. Our story starts in Boston in 1916 in a poor working-class neighborhood when William Rosenberg was born. Bill, as he preferred to be called, grew up in extremely difficult circumstances. His mother couldn't really read or spell, but she was a talented cook. One of Bill's fondest childhood memories was the smell and taste of the donuts she used to bake. Bill's father ran a small grocery store, and even at 9 years old, Bill was already helping out. During one particularly hot summer day, his father had lots of watermelons that needed to be sold. Bill set up a little stall outside the shop and managed to sell them all by shouting to customers, "Bring a watermelon home, surprise your family." One customer even commented he'd make a great salesman one day. By age 11, Bill was spending his summers selling ice cream in the local area. He'd get an insulated box filled with ice cream and dry ice, then head to busy places like Carson Beach and sell them all for a nice profit. Of course, Bill wasn't technically allowed to be doing that, but if he ever saw police, he'd simply run away. When he first started coming home with money from selling ice cream, his mother broke down in tears, asking, "What did you do? Did you steal this?" But Bill explained he'd earned it honestly. The family was in serious financial trouble, so any extra money Bill could make was desperately needed. However, some older kids started noticing how much money Bill and his friends were making and began stealing their profits at the end of each day. Bill and his friends realized they needed to fight back. One day, they turned up with rocks in their boxes instead of ice cream, and a massive fight broke out. Bill and his friends won, but they had to stay away from the beach area for a while afterward. Bill wasn't afraid to work hard and try anything. He had various odd jobs as a kid, from shoveling snow out of driveways in winter to picking up and delivering laundry bags. Around age 10, he started helping his father deliver groceries, working before school, after school, and on weekends too. Despite the extremely long hours of work, Bill probably preferred it to school. In fact, he'd actually gotten expelled from school briefly. He'd seen some kids smoking outside, but when the teacher asked who it was, he refused to snitch. The teacher was about to hit Bill, but Bill was too quick and hit the teacher first, resulting in his expulsion. His father got him reinstated at school. By age 14, in 1929, Bill decided to drop out anyway to help support his family. He never made it past the 8th grade. This was during the start of the Great Depression, and tragically, his father's store went out of business around the same time. With the store closed, the family's financial situation grew extremely desperate. Bill took on whatever jobs he could get. He shined shoes, delivered newspapers and milk, and worked as a telegram delivery boy for Western Union. Through sheer hard work, he became the top commission delivery boy in the division. Since his father no longer had a job, the money Bill earned was vital for his family's survival. By age 17, Bill heard about a friend making better money working at an ice cream company called Simcoe, selling ice creams from a truck. Bill joined the company and was mentored by an accountant named Harry Winokur. Here, Bill learned a lot about the food business, quickly rising from delivery boy all the way up to national sales manager. This job taught Bill skills that would later shape his entire career. When World War II broke out, Bill was told he'd be drafted unless he found an essential job. He found work as an electrician at Hingham Shipyard. He got the job because he had a refrigeration engineer's license from working at Simcoe. Though this didn't really qualify him for the electrician position, Bill worked extremely hard, as always, and eventually got promoted to contract coordinator, which was deemed essential, so he didn't have to go to war. However, his younger brother Donald wasn't so lucky and went off to fight. Bill would never forget the moment he received a telegram informing him his little brother had been killed in combat. He'd never forget the shrieks of his mother as she broke down crying next to him. This tragic moment made Bill realize life was too precious to not pursue what he truly wanted. He'd been bouncing from job to job his whole life to support his family, but deep down, he had a bigger dream. It was time to make that dream a reality. When World War II ended, Bill was determined to start his own business. He kept getting called by two people who ran industrial luncheon services, a food truck business serving coffee, sandwiches, pastries, and donuts in Bridgeport, New Jersey. After turning the job down several times, they offered him a partnership and co-ownership at a discounted rate of $2,500. Bill realized that instead of starting from scratch, he could buy a third of this already established business. He cashed in his $1,500 war bonds and borrowed $1,000 from his mother, who'd received a payout from the government since her son Donald had been killed in the war. Unfortunately, it soon became clear why his business partners had been so desperate to get Bill on board. They were disorganized and didn't share Bill's principles. They were even secretly selling banned goods on the black market. Eventually, Bill split from these partners and started his own catering business with his former mentor, Harry Winokur. Since Bill had wasted most of his savings on the failed partnership, he had to start with just one rickety truck. He used the rest of his money to purchase high-quality ingredients, focusing on serving the best food and drink possible to develop a reputation for quality. Many laughed when he set his coffee price at 10 cents, as it was widely believed nobody would pay that much. At the time, Americans were only used to cheap, low-quality instant coffee, whereas Bill was brewing premium, fresh coffee. At first, people didn't buy it, so Bill offered the coffee for free, saying customers only had to pay if they thought it was worth a dime. And they did. People loved the higher quality coffee once they tried it. And Bill quickly built up loyal customers. Bill would find factories without their own cafes, drive up outside, and sell food and drink from his truck. Business picked up, so Bill wanted to expand. The problem was he couldn't easily get new trucks because everything was rationed from the war. So he bought taxicabs and chassis and essentially built his own food trucks by modifying them with stainless steel shelves, drop-down windows, and heating units inside. While food trucks are common nowadays, Bill's company was one of the first to popularize this concept. Within a few years, they had almost 200 trucks servicing New England and New York, as Bill continued reinvesting profits into growth. While Bill sold various food and drink options, he noticed a huge percentage of profits came specifically from coffee and donut sales. They were the most popular items with great profit margins. So, in 1948, Bill opened a brick-and-mortar store called Open Kettle in Quincy, Massachusetts, focusing predominantly on coffee and donuts. Bill wanted to stand out. Other donut shops offered maybe 4 or 5 different flavors, so Bill decided to sell 52 different donut flavors, one for each week of the year, running a different special weekly. No other donut shop had even close to this variety. He also put in seats so people could sit inside to eat, which was very uncommon. Things were going well, but Bill didn't like the name Open Kettle. So in 1950, after 2 years, he asked his team for a better name. One person said, "Well, what do you do with a donut? You dunk it." Bill loved it, and the name became Dunkin Donuts. Bill continued reinvesting in growth, opening more locations in the Boston area. Soon, he'd open 6 more stores, but it took a lot of money and time to open each new restaurant. It was too slow for Bill, who wanted rapid expansion. His business partner Harry disagreed, saying, "We've got 7 stores already. That's enough," Bill replied. "I want 70. Bill had an idea for faster growth: franchising. He'd let other entrepreneurs pay to set up their own Dunkin Donuts, then collect a percentage of what those franchises made rather than running them all himself. While this seems obvious today, back then, franchises weren't popular and were often looked down upon. Bill believed in franchising so much that he later started the International Franchise Association to serve as the voice of franchising, helping both franchise owners and franchisees. Many of today's biggest franchises like McDonald's, KFC, and Subway benefited from this organization, and Bill helped franchising become mainstream. When Bill first suggested franchising Dunkin Donuts, Harry hated the idea. There'd been tension between them, as Harry felt Bill was taking all the credit, so they eventually split. In 1955, Bill bought out Harry's share for $350,000. Controversially, Harry used this money to set up a rival shop called Mr. Donut. To buy out Harry, Bill had to take on debt and temporarily slow growth, but he now had full control. In 1955, the first Dunkin Donuts franchise opened, and within 10 years they had over 100 locations. This number grew rapidly as Bill franchised stores across the US and worldwide. When Harry realized Bill was right about franchising, he started franchising Mr. Donut too, making it Dunkin's biggest competitor. Bill's drive to keep expanding gave Dunkin the advantage though. In 1968, Dunkin Donuts had its IPO, becoming only the third food service company to go public after McDonald's and KFC. The stock was a hit on Wall Street, and Dunkin continued expanding and innovating with new products. The company was thriving. Not bad for a broke kid who dropped out in 8th grade. After being diagnosed with lung cancer in 1971, Bill began stepping back from the business. In 1990, Dunkin Donuts was acquired by Allied Lyons, the same conglomerate that owned Baskin-Robbins. This company also acquired Mr. Donut, and franchisees were given the chance to convert to Dunkin Donuts since the brand was more popular. In 2002, founder Bill Rosenberg passed away from bladder cancer. Before then, he'd survived multiple blood cancers, skin cancer, lung cancer, and diabetes. While this meant he technically had to give up donuts, he still sneaked the odd one now and then. By December 2005, Dunkin was sold to an association of private equity firms for a whopping $2.4 billion. With the change in ownership came a new slogan in 2006, "America runs on Dunkin." It was part of a multi-million-dollar advertising campaign to revolutionize the brand by capturing how its coffee keeps busy Americans fueled and on the go. This marked Dunkin Donuts' shift in prioritization to coffee instead of donuts, putting the brand in direct competition with coffee companies like Starbucks. Dunkin threw the first punch by poking fun at Starbucks with an ad campaign mocking the competitor's pretentious and hard-to-pronounce menu. The two companies have been in constant competition ever since and remain the biggest coffeehouse chains in the world today. In January 2019, the company made the full switch to its new name, removing donuts from signs, logos, and cups. From then on, they would just be known as Dunkin. Initially, consumer reactions weren't positive, as people couldn't understand why the company wanted to distance itself from the Donut Association. The incredible journey from a poor dropout selling ice cream on the beach to building a multi-billion-dollar global franchise proves that with determination, hard work, and innovation, anything is possible. Bill Rosenberg's legacy lives on in every cup of coffee and donut served at Dunkin locations worldwide.